If you ever have the luxury of making a vacation to Rome, one of the first things you'll notice when you go there is just how many churches there are. You can stand on the steps of just about any church in Rome and see the steps of another church. There are a total of 900 churches in the city of Rome alone. But of those 900 churches, there are 4 that stand out as being particularly important. And those 4 churches are called the Patriarchal Basilicas of Rome. The first one everybody knows, St. Peter's Basilica. Then you have St. Mary Major, which contains the manger that Jesus was put in when he was born. Then you have St. Paul's outside the walls, where St. Paul is buried. And then finally you have St. John Lateran. Those are the 4 patriarchal basilicas, and it's important to know if you do make it to Rome that there's a plenary indulgence attached if you visit all 4 of those basilicas in one trip to Rome. Well, today we celebrate the feast day of the dedication of the Basilica of St. John Lateran, the 4th of those 4 patriarchal basilicas. We don't celebrate the dedication of any other church in Rome, but we do celebrate the dedication of this church because it's actually the most important. For as much as St. Peter's is much more famous, St. John Lateran is actually the most important of all of them because it's considered the mother church of all of Christendom. St. John Lateran contains the heads of St. Peter and Paul, as well as the table on which the Last Supper was celebrated. You know, I lived in Rome for 5 years, but I had the great privilege for 2 of those 5 years of attending the Lateran University, where I studied church history. And the Lateran University is attached to St. John Lateran, the basilica. So I had the great privilege of visiting that basilica almost every day for 2 years, attending many masses there. I made my weekly confession there, stopped in to pray, and always went to see those heads of Peter and Paul and the table where the Last Supper is celebrated, as well as some incredible statues of the 12 apostles. So today is the feast of the dedication of that basilica. Now, there's one piece of trivia that very few people know, that you should know as a Catholic, about St. John Lateran, and it's this. St. John Lateran is the cathedral of the Bishop of Rome, the Pope. Now, if you ask most people on the street, what's the cathedral of the Bishop of Rome, the Pope? Almost everybody's going to say St. Peter's Basilica, right? But it's not. It's St. John Lateran. The word cathedral comes from the Greek word cathedra, which means chair. Wherever the chair of the bishop is the cathedral of the diocese. Well, the chair, the cathedra of the Bishop of Rome, is not at St. Peter's, even though he lives there. It's at St. John Lateran, making St. John Lateran the cathedral of the Bishop of Rome, the Pope. And the Pope goes there to do his most important things and to make his most important pronouncements. The reason why the dedication of this church and no other church is celebrated by Catholics all over the world, it used to just be celebrated in Rome, but now it's celebrated by Catholics all over the world, is as a sign of our unity with and devotion to the See of Peter, occupied by the Holy Father, who happens right now to be Pope Francis. And on this feast day of the dedication of the Pope's Cathedral, could I just make a simple appeal to all of you to remember to pray for the Pope? He has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's criticized an awful lot. Most recently because of what he said or is alleged to have said in that documentary Francesco. He's been criticized a lot in the last 3 weeks. The Pope gets criticized from people who think he's not liberal enough, and from people who think he's not Catholic, conservative enough. People who think he's not Catholic enough, people who think he's too Catholic. He's criticized from all over, and the poor guy is just a man. It's got to be really hard to be him, and who knows if any one of us would do any better in his shoes. He really needs our prayers. Our prayers can help to make him strong, and when the Pope is strong, the whole church is strong. So as we celebrate the dedication of the Cathedral of the Pope, let us all remember in our prayers today to say an extra one for Pope Francis.